So today we're gonna learn how to create custom commands or macros in AutoCAD. And what's the idea of this? The idea is that you can understand these custom command macros so you can start implementing them in your regular day-to-day work, right? Why? Well, to automate some of the repetitive tasks, right, that we have when we work in AutoCAD, and of course to simplify our life. So today we're gonna go over three objectives. One would be to start explaining some of the characters used in macros, right? And then also we're gonna show you how we can organize them, and finally I'm gonna give you a macro example, right, or a custom command example. Welcome again to another lazy show where we teach you AutoCAD in a way that is more productive so you can stop wasting your time. Okay, so having explained that, let me go over here and start going over this. Again, a macro command or custom command is simply a way to automate repetitive tasks, and there are three ways where we can save or create our commands. One is our brand new command macros. So to access those, you can use the command macros right here. So once we do that, we're gonna have this brand new, again, palette that was introduced in AutoCAD 2023. And again, this is especially for custom commands, or also called macros. Right, so this is the first place where we can create. The second place, where we can store or organize, the second place is our tool palette. So if we do Control 3, we can open our tool palette right here, and you can see also this is another way that you can start creating or organizing your custom commands or macros. Also, we created so many here on the channel. So if we go and type CUI, right, we will have this customized user interface, and here is where we're gonna see all of our commands right here. So to, of course, add it to our quick access panel, we can simply select any command, and we can hold in it, we can drag it all the way up to our quick access panel and release it, and here we go, we will have our custom command right on our quick access panel. In the same way, we can add it to anywhere on our ribbon, right, by clicking it and dragging it to the right location. If you expand your ribbon, you'll have tabs, panels, and so on. Of course, you have to find where you need it, right? So for instance, I can go and expand the annotate text, and you will see that's the annotate tab right here. If you go to the home, also should be a home tab somewhere in here. Here it is, home. So on the home tab, you can add it on the layers panel or so on by simply again clicking the custom command and dragging it and releasing it right there. Right, so those are the three ways again to organize command macros. We use them all, and that was a brief explanation again how to save or store our custom commands or macros. Again, the command macros palette, the tool palette, and the ribbon or quick access panel. So now, all right. So some of the special characters that we use on macros are the following. All right, so let's keep moving with the objective number 2, which is explaining some of these characters or special characters that we can use to create our custom commands or macros, right? So the first one is the C, with this character right here, and this is simply a way to press or or use the escape key on your keyboard, and we use this right always on the beginning of our command macros, again to cancel any active or running command, right? If we don't use this in the beginning, there might be errors because you might be using a command in AutoCAD, and then again there will be a conflict right there. So that's a very important character. Again, we're gonna utilize it and show it to you in a real example when we go to the final objective, objective 3, which is create a custom command or an example of a macro. So then we have this period special character, right? And the period simply means that this is telling AutoCAD that it's a standard definition of a command, right? And why we do this? What happened is that most of the time the AutoCAD programming or the AutoCAD is modified because there are people, that use Lisp or other programs that can modify a command, right? For people who don't know, AutoLisp is, a programming language that you can use to work again more efficient in AutoCAD. But again, these programs can modify any command, right? Then we have this underscore character that simply means that we're using the global English name of a command, right? And this is also important because you know that AutoCAD has many different language versions, right? So you might have the Spanish version that you use in South America, you might have the European version, who knows, right? But by using this underscore, again, we're letting AutoCAD know that we're using the English global version of a command. Again, it's very important to use these characters. This next one, the semicolon character, it's another useful or important character when creating macros because this represents pressing the enter key on your keyboard, right? When we start a command, we always press enter. So this will do that for us when using it in macros. Then we'll have the backslash character, and this help us to say, hey AutoCAD, we want to pause here because we need a user input, right? We want you, the user, to do something, right, before we continue with the macro. So these are not all the characters that we can use in macros, but they are the most important and the most used. And just by knowing this, you will be able to start creating your macros, your custom commands to again automate some of the boring and repetitive tasks that we can have when we use AutoCAD. All right. So for the third objective, which is give you an example of a custom command or macro, I'm gonna go into a drawing that I have right here. This is an exterior elevation, and to give you a short story about this drawing or a problem that I had here is that most of the time when we use drawings or receive drawings, they don't follow our standards, right? For instance, this drawing is using a different text style for the dimension, for these multi-letters, and some of these texts are again on different text styles. So if we want to follow standards, we want all of these text and dimensions to be in one style, right? In one text style. So that's where we can use macros to quickly do this. Because look what happened when if I want to do this manually, right? I will have to select my text, go right click, select similar, go to my properties, change the style that I need. In this case, I want everything to be in arch style, in this style, archy style, that's the name. I don't want it to be in this style. So what I'll have to do is go ahead and manually change it again to archy style. But then that also means that I'll have to change my dimensions also, right? Select that, use the select similar, go to my properties, find the style so I can change it. So you got the idea, right? Let's see, there's text right here, the style is right here, so I'm gonna change it to arch style, and finally I'm done. Now you can imagine if you receive or work with multiple drawings that you receive, you will have to manually do this over and over again, and this is a repetitive task that we can automate with macros. So let me undo that and show you that. I'm gonna do Control Z on my keyboard a couple of times to go back, and here we go. So, and the way that we can start is in our command line right here. Okay, so on our command line, what we can do is, and this is something that I like to do first when I create my macros, right? A good practice is, instead of jumping right to our palette or command macros palette or to our tool palette, I like to test this on the command line. So I'm gonna use that command on my command line again, and this is the command obj prop. And if we press enter on the command line, we will have to select our objects. That's what AutoCAD is suggesting to do right now. In order for a command macro to work better, we will need to avoid some of these clicking or selections. So a way to avoid this, and instead of clicking and selecting my objects over here on my command line, right? So I'm gonna say all, and then I can again press enter. So look what happened. Without clicking anything, I was able to select all of my geometry in AutoCAD. Now, if we follow here the command line instructions, it's asking again to select my objects. So I'm gonna simply press a second enter here. And once we do that, we can see that we have 4 different options right here. And again, for when we create custom command or macros, we are trying to avoid clicking any of these options. We try to do everything from the command line, right? Because if we do that, that means that we can put all of these steps that we are doing on the command line into our code, into our macro code here on our palette or tool palettes or anywhere. So then what I need again to change in this example is the text style. So I'm gonna go ahead and say text style, and I could simply say T and press enter, but to keep things simple, I'm gonna type the entire word, right? Text style, and then I can press enter again. Finally, on the command line, it's asking us to enter the text style name, right? So of course we should know our text style name, right? In this case, the name of my text style is called Archie Style. That's the name. And then of course I'm gonna have to press enter one more time. So I'm gonna do that, press enter. And then you can see on the command line that still is asking to enter the properties to change. But since we already did that, I'm gonna simply press enter one more time to finalize everything. And boom, you can see immediately the changes. All of our drawing, including dimensions, text, and so on, are now consistent with our standards, which again was using the Archie style text or font. All of these steps that we did on the command line, we can put it into a small piece of code called macro, right? And the way we do it is you can expand your command line, right, and see all the steps that we did. So you can see all of the steps again that we did, and all of these steps we can again write it in the command macro. So the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna copy this like so, because I want to paste this somewhere. So I'm gonna paste it in a document that I have open right here, so I can show it to you. So again, these are all of the steps that we did in AutoCAD, and all of these now I'm going to show you how to write a small macro code, right? So you can quickly fix any of these drawings for with your textile standard with one single click. That's the beauty of the macros command. But for this specific example, I'm going to use the command macros palette. So I'm going to use the command macros again, and I'm going to pick any of these commands again. These are the recommendations from the insights from AutoCAD. So AutoCAD recommend you some custom command or macros already. So that's why I'm gonna reuse some of those, right? And I'm gonna do it by right clicking on it and say command macros editor. So once I do that, I can name my command, for example, textile change. That's all up to you. You can even specify an image right here for your new command, right? And then of course you can add a description right here. Alright, you can add your description, and the important part here is I'm gonna erase all of this because again this is from an old macro command. And we're gonna start by using some of those special characters that we explained. And again, this C is, if you remember, to cancel any active or running command. It's like pressing the escape on your keyboard. So we're gonna leave two of those right there, and we should always do that. Next, do you remember about what we did on the command line? Well, what we did is, I'm seeing here on my second screen, is we use the obj prop command. If you remember some of those special characters again, we need to let AutoCAD know two things. One was we need to let them know about that we want to use the standard form or definition of a command, right? Because commands can be modified by AutoLisp or other custom programs, and we don't want that. We want to use the standard version. We let AutoCAD know that is by using this period or dot, right? So that's what we're gonna use before our command. And then the second thing that we need to let AutoCAD know was that we want to use the global or English name version of the command, right? So it can work correctly from all of the multiple languages, right? That we have AutoCAD in Spanish, English, and so on. But the character is this underscore, remember? So those are the two things that we need always to include before any command when we create this macros code. All right, next, do you remember that we needed to press an enter on our keyboard when we use a command, right? So, and that character was semicolon, right? That's the another important character. So all we did again is activate the obj prop command on our command line, similar to what we previously did, right? And now that's the important part about this, about taking notes, right? So we wouldn't remember all of the steps that we did on the command line. That's why it's important to have it somewhere written somewhere. And then, so what we did here is, again, we use this command. Then we needed to specify our objects, as you can see, and we said all. And then of course we needed to press enter, right? So that's what we're gonna do with this semicolon. Now, do you remember that when we say all to select objects, if you remember that, right? So two times we needed to let AutoCAD know about those objects. So that's where we pressed a second enter. if you remember that. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add one more semicolon. Um, then AutoCAD asks for picking one of these options. And the option that we needed was the text style, right? So that's what we're gonna add in our macro code, text style. And of course, we needed to press another enter here, right? If you remember that. Now, if we go back to our notes, so we already specified that we want the textile option. AutoCAD asked to specify the name of our textile, and we said Archie style. So that's what we're gonna do again. Archie style. And of course, to accept that, we did press enter. Finally, over here, AutoCAD again asks us to specify one of these four options, and since we already did that, we already specified the textile, we needed simply to exit or finish this prop command. And the way we did it, if you remember, was by pressing enter again. So that's what we're gonna do. Press enter with a semicolon, and it's time to test our brand new custom command or macro. So by simply clicking OK, the next time that you receive a drawing and you need to have your drawing per your standards and not just with random textiles like this, you could simply go to your new custom command or macros and simply click on it, and you will be able to see all of your text in your current textile. All right, so that's the beauty of creating macros. Hopefully you see how powerful they are and how they can help you work smarter in your AutoCAD drawings, right? Hopefully today's presentation is gonna push you to start creating these quick and short commands. You know now all of the basics to start doing those.